Hi, welcome back to another reading. This reading I wanted to do a follow-up of the last reading I did. I got really curious of the Ace of Cups. It came through kind of as the first card, and I wanted to know more about it because it felt so essential. So I pulled it out here, and I'm going to use this as an anchor for this reading. And what I'm really wanting to investigate a bit further is understanding how we can build this cup. It feels like almost a protective shell that we can use when we want to pull back into, but it's not like we're completely attached to the shell. We can also emerge out of it, is what it feels like. So I wanted to investigate, and I did already pull some animal spirit cards, and the cards that came out was the octopus and the owl. And so first of all, what I noticed is that both of these cards are dark, and so they're referring to the darker aspects of our consciousness, or rather the subconscious parts of our consciousness, not our day-to-day kind of mind, but other parts of our body. And I don't know who I'm going to speak about first. Let's see. Let's talk a little bit about the owl. The owl, you can see he looks right at you. The owl is very attentive. It's an energy that can really spot something far away, and it's really also good at discerning between different types of energy. It's almost like nothing misses or passes the owl. It really knows how to detect and to spot things. And when we're talking about the dark air, it talks about how to really see very clearly in the dark, and how to become aware of things that are hidden in our subconscious. And that's when the octopus enters the scene, because the octopus, I don't know, if you look at that card, it's almost like it really triggers my mothering instincts, because you can see that octopus is not comfortable. At least, that's what I feel like when I look at it now. It's the octopus is right now, the octopus is representing those aspects of ourselves that we are not willing to look at. And so the octopus, what it does when it gets scared is that it puts out the ink, right? So it wants to remain unseen as well. It wants to remain hidden, because it has learned over and over that it is unwanted. So actually, the octopus comes through right now as our core wounding. It's part of our core wounding, which are the parts that learned that we're not valuable, that were maybe even directly unwanted or embarrassing, or something we should be ashamed of, or something that we would be punished for, or simply something that other people didn't know how to reflect back to us, something that made other people uncomfortable. And so this is what the octopus has learned, that it's unwanted, that it should remain hidden. And the thing with the octopus that's coming through so strongly is that because it hasn't received kind of the love and attention and nourishing, it's still very, very immature. And it's water, so the only way that it knows how to communicate to us is through fear. These aspects that are very, very vulnerable and immature, they only know how to speak to us through fear. And this is what really breaks my heart, because we don't like our fear. We hate our fear. We feel that our fear holds us back, that it blocks us from doing the things that we want. A lot of the times it feels like our fear is blocking our wants. You know, the wants of our ego. We want to do something, we want to move forward, we want to shine in some way. But the fear is blocking us. And so with that, we're creating this very negative feedback loop within ourselves, is what I'm getting. It's like, because we dislike our fear so much, we keep kind of draining these aspects more and more and more, making them, you know, in a sense, closer and closer to death, weaker and weaker. And that only makes them produce more and more fear, because it's like they are starving. They're not getting attention, they're not being seen. And so that's what I'm getting with this, that the owl is here to help us to become aware of these aspects within us that that really, you know, because they're part of our core wounding, it's like these aspects are actually the aspects where we have most potential, in a way, because they are the furthest away from the light. You know, they're the most immature, the most vulnerable. But at the same time, there are the things that we cannot let go of, because they're part of our purpose, part of the core of who we are. You know, the reason that we're here. And so it's really, really essential kind of for our purpose to become aware of these aspects. And what I'm also getting is that, you know, the higher version of them, it's almost like these aspects, they will, you know, they will become what they are fed. And so if we feed them love, they're gonna become love. You know, they're gonna start to ascend and rise and start communicating through love. But if we feed them with anger and trying to push them away and shun them out and ignore them and say that they are, you know, something unwanted, then that's what they're going to become more and more of. And so again, it feels like this choice point where we are choosing how we are dealing with, handling our own subconscious, how we are treating ourselves, how we are handling our own fear. So let's pull some more cards. There are more messages coming through. What I wanted to say, one last thing on this, is that, you know, it's like almost like when these aspects ascend, when we start feeding them love, when we start understanding them, when we start protecting them instead of saying that they are unwanted, these aspects are what will become incredibly psychic, is what I'm getting. It's like these aspects are so kind of malleable, because their nature has been something that our culture growing up could not understand. And so it's like these were the, you know, it's almost like these are the star seeds, you know, these are the seeds of the stars, the seeds of the future, but they turned into wounds because they were ahead of their time. You know, our parents, our caregivers weren't able to mirror them back to us because that consciousness was kind of too big for them. They weren't able to understand it. And so it became a wounding, but it's actually our gift, is what I'm getting. They actually represent our biggest potential at this point in time. And so, yes, now I feel more. That's what the octopus wanted to say. It's like, it's very shy, you know, these aspects are very shy. They don't want to step into the light. They are so gentle and vulnerable and soft, but also extremely flexible, you know. It's like they can move wherever. It's very much that kind of shapeshifter energy. Interesting. We have the Magician underneath. So let's see what this is about. And then we have the Eight of Cups together with the Star. Yeah, okay. It's coming through. It's like the Star is very much that star power. You know, it represents Aquarius. And I think I said this in the last reading, but it's almost like, you know, we're finishing. We are in the last degrees of Capricorn now, with a lot of planets. You know, a lot of planets are going through. It's, how do I want to say this? You know, it's almost like our collective consciousness is really focused on truly understanding the last degrees of Capricorn. And the archetype of Capricorn is both, you know, the black hole. So kind of like a dying sun, a sun that has played out the light part of its cycle, and it's going into a very dark part of its cycle. But it's also the emerging star. So it's the new star that is born from darkness. And so that's kind of what we're doing right now. We are letting go of the things that are turning into kind of black holes within us, the things that are consuming us. It's like they're actually starting to steal energy from us rather than feed us. It's kind of when a habit turns into an addiction, right? It's that point. But then we're also like guided to identify the areas within us where these new stars have the potential of being born. You know, if we feed them, if we locate them, and if we kind of cultivate them, you know, they will be born into new stars. And so again, I'm getting the same message with the Eight of Cups, that it is within the broken cups. You know, go look for the broken cups within us, the areas that are immature and only communicates to us through the emotions that a very small child would use. You know, a small child can't really speak to us in terms of narratives. It gets afraid. You know, fear is a very fundamental emotion. And so that's kind of where we can find these immature aspects that are needing to be fed so that they can be whole again. And what I'm getting with this is that once we learn how to create a cup, once we learn how to rebuild a cup, that's what we're going to be doing. You know, we're going to be creating cups upon cups upon cups, because this is what will allow us to actually start to, you know, completely move out of that culture of consumption. You know, it's very much rooted on addiction, on consuming things because they make us feel better, you know, because we don't feel good really inside ourselves. But when we learn how to build cups, we learn how to make ourselves feel really, really good by doing energy work on ourselves. You know, we actually heal ourselves, we heal our brokenness, and we learn how to, you know, with the cups, layer different emotions, different energies on top of each other consciously to create experiences. And so that's also what I'm getting for the future. It's like we won't be buying so many stuff anymore, so many material things. We'll be buying kind of emotional artwork or emotional paintings off of each other. You know, we will be buying emotional experiences, kind of taking each other on these like energy seductions, kind of, is what I'm feeling. And so learning how to build cups is really, you know, it's kind of what I'm getting. This is just what I'm getting, but it's like the pioneering thing of the future. It's so beneficial for so many things, because also, you know, for the environment as well. If we don't buy so many stuff anymore, you know, everything is going to slow down, and we're going to be able to, you know, take better care of our nature and everything. And so this is really like a part of a huge shift here on Earth, is what I'm getting. And it's all connected to these very vulnerable aspects within our own psyche, our core wounding. So let's let me just slow down a little bit, because I want to know, would be nice to know a little bit more about kind of what's blocking this. That's what I'm interested in. What's blocking us from seeing these octopus aspects right now? Because it's a focus on learning how to see them. And so I'm wondering what's in the way of that. Oh, interesting. The Nine of Pentacles comes through. And I'm very much drawn to the feathers. You know, the feathers creating borders for these spaces. And it's almost right now, it's almost like I'm seeing these pentacles as cups, but what I'm getting is that the cups are representing cells. So it's a lot of double imaging here, but it's, again, it's almost like once we learn how to create the cup, we're just going to do it. That's going to be our new form of creating life for a while, you know, because it's such a potent way of creating. It's such an abundant way of creating. But what seems to be hindering this creation comes through here as the feathers, you know, our perception. There seems to be a lack or a difficulty within us to create borders between us and others. So to me, the nines in the tarot, a lot of the time, it represents individuality, you know. It represents my ability as an individual to act, to do something, even if no other person is doing that in my collective. Even if in my tribe there are no one else doing that, I can still do it if I'm fully individualized. And so again, the block seems to be that we are feeding ourselves from the wrong places, is what I'm getting. It's like it has to do with codependency. And this is, I think it's a bit more complicated actually than what I can fit into this video. There's a lot of downloads there, so I don't know if I'm gonna, how I can simplify it. Let me just think. What it actually comes through as is that the key to moving out of codependency is awakening different facets of our consciousness. It's like, in order to stop feeding ourselves off of the kind of the validation of other people, you know, because this is what created this wounding in the first place. It's like people not being able to reflect us fully, you know. And so feeding ourselves off of other people, it's never gonna be, in times where most people are not fully awakened, you know, we're never gonna receive what we need through that. And so it comes through as very important to learn how to awaken new parts of our consciousness, to awaken, for instance, our higher self, you know, our divine father or divine masculine and our divine mother, to learn how to allow these energies, these higher dimensional energies, to feed us and to guide us rather than external people, is what I'm getting. Because also underneath the deck was the Three of Cups. And the Three of Cups is really like that, you know, it's like receiving kind of consciousness from the higher dimension, is what I'm feeling with this. And okay, let me just pull one more card here, because yes, okay, so cool. Because I thought, like, I was thinking the Nine of Pentacles, oftentimes, you know, we see that depicted with a bird. You know, she has a bird that is flying above, and she also has a snail. So she has the ability to observe everything, but she also has the ability to really take her time and to move slow, you know. She knows how to shapeshift into those two energies. And the same here is the bird coming through. And now the Father of Swords came through, another bird and another energy that's very much associated with, you know, the energy of the heart, the green energy, the crown of the tree, kind of our ability to just observe everything and to just become aware, become enlightened. Very similar, of course. I should have known the owl was there all along. I should have known. but it's that bird energy. And what I'm getting here is that, and this is actually something that I've been called to do so much over the past 6 months, to really just observe, meditate, observe. And that's also why I love to come to the forest, because the trees are like that, you know, they're just standing there observing everything, and they've done that for, you know, how long? It's like they really know the history of the earth, and they know it simply just because they have been observing it. And that's the same kind of thing that I'm getting here, is that if we take the time to just sit still and look inside, we will really start to see the pattern that can, you know, we will start to learn how to tune into these different types of consciousness, facets of our consciousness, that will allow us to not only locate these, but to also actually, you know, connect them to a new source of food, so that they can become their highest potential, and we can awaken our star power. And so I have a feeling that a lot of more messages are gonna be coming through with this, and I think it's better if I don't do super long readings with a lot of information. So I think I'm gonna stop here. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and take care. Goodbye.